Thanks a lot, and thanks to all the panelists for joining. I mean, we really do have a, very, I would say, seasoned set of panelists here, and I believe that, yes, we are just post-dinner, so a lot of us will be kind of feeling sleepy, so we'll try our best to kind of make this, session really interesting and exciting, and the topic is also I would say very interesting, ADAS and, its affordability for India market, right? So let's get started. I would like to kind of start the discussion from Giri. Giri, you come with rich experience, with the accident research, right? And one of the key pillars of ADAS is also how to reduce accidents, right? The safety being the key pillar of ADAS. So just wanted to kind of get your insights that how do you see the accident scenario in India? What kind of accidents are more frequent, high intensity, and what kind of ADAS features, you really look forward to which can have impact in reducing these accidents? So, yeah.
Thank you, Kamal. Am I audible? Yes. So you asked me a question which is like, I don't know, 10 marks or 20 marks question. This is not a one-liner answer. Which ADAS product fits in for India market? Wow, I've been doing research for almost 7 years. Still, I did not find the solution yet. Which ADAS fits in for India market? Well, thanks for the question. I'll just introduce a little bit on situation of accidents in India because that's what I've been doing so far. So, short hint that Bosch was into accident research almost since 15, 16 years now, and have an expertise of analyzing close to 30,000 accidents on the field, around 3,000 plus, India, Germany as well. So we have a large data set to understand and see what exactly went wrong in each of the accidents. Because in India, we have a problem in understanding data sets because we do not have engineering data set. All we talk about is the Ministry of Road Transport published some data set. So many people died, so many people injured, this vehicle, but what do I do with it as an engineer? On the other side, people from vehicle manufacturer side, they collect some data, engineering data, which is of their own use. But if I want to understand the real practicality of India, we do not have the data. So that's the reason why I think Parthiv is also there, one of the founding member of RASI Consortium in 2010, 8, 9, 10, around that area, is almost 15 years now. And we use this data extensively for most of the topics, okay? That's a base introduction. So when it comes to ADAS as such, for ADAS for what is one question which we all miss. In the morning, we are all talking about ADAS for passenger car segment. But the catch here is, when you see Indian accident scenarios, only 37% of accidents are involving cars. When you take 100 accidents, only 37%. And that means 1/3. Nearly 2/3 of accidents is with vulnerable road users, motorcyclists, trucks, bicyclists, and other category of vehicles. But you take the same thing in European country, 87% of the accidents, at least one car is involved. So now you understand where we have to focus. So the first focus is ADAS for cars, okay, is good. But ADAS for other segment is also equally important. That's the pitch which we have to always think. And the second part is, where are different fatalities happening? That's the major thing. So if you just distribute total number of fatalities, we are losing around about 170,000 every year. You know these numbers, 170,000 is not a small number. That means nearly 500 people do not go back home. It's an alarming number. Despite of putting so many machines into the car, despite of improving so much of infrastructure with connectivity, AI, IoTs, but still, we are not able to reduce 1% fatalities in the last 3 decades. Yeah? Last 3 decades is 30 years. And still we sign an Ministry of Road Transport signs an MOU in every declaration of United Nations of Decade of Action. It's a challenge given to every country that we reduce 50% of fatalities by 10 years. By 2030, we have to reduce 50%. I don't see a sign of it as of now. So now, in this, if you see where are the different fatalities coming in, the motorcycle has the highest fatalities, which is around 45%, 50%. And then passenger car fatalities are less than 13 to 14%, which is a marginal space. And then pedestrians around 20%. 20% of 170,000 is equal to the total fatalities of the entire European Union. So entire European Union is around 27 to 28 countries put together. The fatality is around 40,000. But Indian pedestrian alone is 60,000, which is a huge chunk. So now, depending on distributions, you have to understand where we have to work in. Okay, now the exact problem comes in. So now when we wanted to develop a ADAS system, okay, it's very good to follow European standards, get all their equipments here and then directly fit into the ecosystem. But whether these systems works for Indian context is very, very important. Because when you take European or Western world, every second accident or every accident is involving a car there. Okay, the number of car gets into an accident, if there's an 100 car accidents of 100%, around 87%, as I said. That means 1 in 9 is involving cars. In India, it's totally different. Yeah. Now you have to focus on collision opponent. So what kind of solution is required for collision opponent is what we have to think about it. So in one end, we have a big problem of skewed distribution, or I don't say skewed distribution, it's a distribution of our own country, a different category, different vulnerable road users who are getting into different segment of vulnerabilities. And then you have car on the one hand. So we have to focus a little bit on all these three factors to develop different ADAS systems. Okay, coming to the ADAS product itself. There are 200 plus varieties of ADAS. I think you all will agree. There are, because you have starting from AEB also you have 20 versions of pedestrian, intercity, interurban, vulnerable road users, bicyclists, pedestrians. And how does this work? One works with 1V, one works with 2R, 3R, corner radars, some with LiDARs. There are so many things. Out of this 200, how many fits into the Indian market? So nobody has done this study yet, okay? So that's the biggest study, and I will give the result in the due course of the discussion. I don't want to reveal the results. Bosch has done this study, I think, in 2019, 20, 21 consistently, and we mapped what is the percentage of ADAS system which is existing in European world. No change. I'm not going to change anything or customize anything for Indian market. I directly put it into Indian market and see what is the best fit and what percentage of accident is going to get resolved. I'll give you the numbers in the due course of discussion. I think I will stop at this point. Maybe we will continue the discussion. Thank you.
So, good to hear the insight really on the category of the vehicles itself, right? We have been heavily focusing ADAS, particularly for passenger vehicles, right? And the accident data shows it can be commercial vehicles or other vulnerable, riders on the road. Hopefully, I mean, we don't have somebody in the panel from the commercial vehicle today. Otherwise, we would have opened that discussion also. But what I understand, I mean, ADAS is still one of the levers with which you can reduce the accidents, right? And we have a huge number of vehicles on the road, be it commercial, passenger, two-wheelers, right? Now, we can't immediately kind of make them all ADAS enabled, right? So the next question comes is that, first of all, whether the existing ADAS features are really helpful, right? We heard in the presentation that most of the features are not even helpful or usable in Indian context, right? But let's say even if they are helpful, right? Are there ways to kind of, make these vehicles ADAS compatible? And there, I think Vaya Labs is working, on retrofitting, right? So can we discuss a bit on that, is it a really feasible solution out there, a retrofit of ADAS? And what categories basically? Is it like passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. And based on what Mr. Kumaresh said here, yeah, every vehicle should be ADAS equipped. Is what is the at the end of what he spoke. That's what people would think, right? And the point is that right now in India we probably have a very tiny, speck of the entire vehicle population that is supporting ADAS inherently. So yes, when we say, can we think about retrofitting and introduce ADAS into the existing vehicles, one might jump up and say that yes, of course, why not, right? And in India, I think we have a shining example of retrofitting our CNG vehicles. I remember about 2 decades ago when the thing had just started that people were converting their vehicles into CNG. People used to take whatever kit was available and then put it into their vehicles. And then over the years, I have seen that it has become standardized. And I was just, before coming onto the stage, I was looking at the history of the CNG retrofitting. And while we have got a matured market now with major players bringing out CNG-equipped vehicles and CNG retrofitting kits available, which are authorized by the authorities, there is still a disclaimer that's put that says, if you're not using what is authorized at the cost which is prescribed for these kits, then you're risking your lives and you're risking the vehicle and risking everyone else, right? This is with CNG that has undergone a transformation in the past 20, 25 years, right? While applying the same logic to ADAS, I think there's still some time before which the aftermarket will mature enough, and our friends like the ARAI would come up with standardized and authorized kits that would really be, safe enough to go onto the vehicles. At the moment, it's going to be hard for us to think about retrofitting. Most of the retrofitting that I've seen and I've participated in, I've actually worked with 2 vehicles right now that are running on the road, and I tried retrofitting for R&D and development purposes. While it's a very exciting activity, you actually get to see the vehicle brake when it sees something, and you've seen all those vehicles out there as well. To put it on a vehicle that I would be competing with on the road, I would hesitate to say that we should do it right away. It has to be done. It has to be done in phases. We need to focus, as we have been talking about from the morning, and which also repeated right now, what is the right feature that needs to come in? Whether it really needs to be ADAS at all, or whether it's just good enough to have something like a warning feature, right? So all these are things that we need to think about before jumping and saying that, it's good to retrofit vehicles. As a hobbyist, as an R&D person working either in academia or in the corporate world, yes, we continue to evolve our efforts to retrofit. But ultimately, the push has to come from the standardizing bodies like ARAI, right? Which very confidently give us a kit and say, here, go. Here is an authorized agent. Take my kit and fit it onto your vehicle, and I assure you that there are going to be minimal accidents. Like, until somebody like that gives us confidence, the way it has happened for CNG, I would dare say that we need to hold off on retrofitting at a mass scale at right now. Probably maybe starting off with something like 3-wheelers would be a better option, because I think that's where even the EV has started. That's where things that are getting retrofitted are starting from 3-wheelers, which is a major market in India. Start with that, and then go on to more, let's say, bigger vehicles, which will benefit from retrofitting, at the same time have a capability or the capacity to cause a lot of damage if the retrofitting is done wrong. So those are my 2 cents on the topic.
Got it. I was thinking about the category. So you mentioned 3-wheeler could be the first one, right? Where probably the possibility or the risk might be a bit less than the other categories, right? Do you see examples of that where, like in India, it's ARAI, right, which is kind of controlling the quality and everything. Any other country where there are examples of any retrofitting happening, where the ecosystem exists and from where we can learn that, yes, this is the way we can go about it?
To the best of my knowledge, I have not seen retrofitting as a solution to ADAS. It's usually a platform, ADAS-enabled platform that gets developed, which then gets proliferated into different vehicle models across, right? Retrofitting is a very specific example that suits a country like India, right? And that's primarily because of the cost of ownership, right? Where in let's say a country like the United States, people have multiple vehicles, they own multiple vehicles, and they don't really have qualms about selling a vehicle and buying a new one, right? Whereas for us in India, owning a vehicle is kind of something that someone aspires to achieve, right? So when we spend, or when an Indian spends money on buying a vehicle, it's with the intention of using the vehicle for a certain number of years, for a certain period of time, right? So when the vehicle introduced itself has the base features, building on top of it with retrofitting probably makes sense. But if there is a vehicle that has a lot of challenges in getting retrofit, in the current stage that we are, without any proper governing authority that certifies the retrofitment, I think that it's going to be a tough call for us to retrofit. Right?
Got it. Thanks a lot for that. Probably I'll also now move to Vijay. We have seen a slew of features, right, in ADAS coming in past few years, right? So what's your sense on the, as of now, how does the penetration look like in different categories, right? Tata Motors being into commercials also, passengers also, and within passengers also there are different segments, right? So how is the consumer willingness or how is the consumer adoption? Where are they willing to pay for it? Can you throw some insights on that? Where they really see value in it, and it has become a kind of differentiating factor that, okay, I'm going to buy a vehicle because this has ADAS and not other way. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I would agree to the fact that when you look at the global scenario, India is probably very minuscule in terms of adoption as of now. But last 2 years, we are seeing some green shoots. People definitely are investing into technologies that matter, the features that matter. Now, if I have to break down the feature set into, let's say, safety, convenience, and let's say luxury or comfort, safety is definitely an element which people are investing into. And coincidentally, safety starts with basic steps of warning and then gets into a higher level of intrusiveness. Now that's where the challenges start creeping in the Indian context. And what is more critical right now for us as OEMs and definitely the system suppliers also is that while your systems are going to be, let's say, an L1 or an L2 compliant system, are they functioning to the best capability in the Indian context on the Indian use cases? A lot of times you would otherwise see that you have a feature-laden vehicle, but it's switched off. And there are so many use cases in the Indian context. Let's say if you're on an ACC, moving on a highway, okay, and that's probably one thing where you would see highways a use case where you would typically use ADAS to the maximum, not in the city, more on the highways. Now this is also where you're on an ACC, which will typically modulate the vehicle speeds depending on the obstructions or obstacles that will come in. But seldom you will find a vehicle coming from an outboard, inboard side, cutting in, and that's where you get surprised. So not a use case probably as frequent in the developed markets as you would see in the Indian context. And these are the elements where the predictive models will have to evolve in order to further improve upon the, let's say, adoption rates or usability of the features. But to answer to your question in a short way, definitely people are finding value. People are paying for it. In fact, people are valuing their life more now than probably earlier. And it's now moving more from safety to probably some amount of convenience and comfort features. And that's how the trick is in how do you bundle up these features along with some of the other convenience features, use the same system, but deliver more than what ADAS is. And that's what will further drive adoption.
Got it. And coming to you, Parthiv, now, you also into passenger vehicle and on the premium side of the vehicles, right? So like Vijay mentioned on the adoption and the willingness to pay, what do you see in that premium segment? Is there a difference? Like, are consumers more willing to pay for ADAS in more premium segment versus lower premium? How do they see value? Is there a difference? If you can throw some insight.
Okay, this is a simple problem to solve for us because we do not differentiate a customer based on premium or non-premium. All our customers get those basic safety features or driving features in flat. because our vehicles are developed for worldwide market, we do not differentiate it. We sell the same products in India as well. From that viewpoint, I think a Mercedes representative here would not be the right person to answer that question because we offer everything. But if I just come back to what Vijay was also mentioning, that the awareness of the customer towards these features is time and again going up. So Giri remembers those days, Giri, when we were discussing even to make airbag mandatory, and there were so many discussions around it, and now we are not discussing that. I'm going back to the telecommunication technology. Today we have so many users who are using mobile phones and who have not seen the traditional phone. So an adoption of technology in India has seen a lot of jumps, and they skip the technologies. So like the developed world, who has seen ADAS technology slowly migrating from a level 1 safety features to level 2 of little bit of driving features, we are in that situation that we might take a big jump and we skip the learning journey and we directly jump into a level 2 or a level 2 plus scenarios. And this is where the biggest potential, as far as also from the safety point of view, as well as from the convenience or customer advantage point of view. I mean, what will customer value? I mean, if he is able to navigate through Bangalore streets a little bit more conveniently, and he is able to see his phone instead of 24/7 looking at the traffics and two-wheelers cutting around, I think that would be a good way to look forward for this one.
Great. And like we have discussed in this panel and earlier also, right, India is a totally different ecosystem and the country to, deploy ADAS. And I think with all the noise around while you are driving, right, it needs a very different kind of solution. And the simply bringing the solutions from European or American markets or other markets won't work. So the next obvious question is that, what are those opportunities, right? How can we really do that in a right and a cost-efficient manner, right? And make it more affordable for Indian roads, right? And probably Antonio, we can hear your thoughts on that, and we can then have other people's thoughts.
Yeah, so, a lot of the speakers before have talked about how ADAS solutions currently in India, people turn them off, they don't work, they don't meet the needs. And the reason is they're all based off of sensors, technologies, implementations, which were developed, validated in Western driving environments. And you can't take the approach of just trying to tweak those and hope that they work well. There's many, many differences in terms of the types of the composition of the road traffic, as we were talking about earlier, much more two-wheelers and three-wheelers in India compared to US or Germany. The driver behavior is very different, and the way that you, as the operator of the vehicle, respond is very different. So you kind of need a ground-up approach that takes into account all of those things are fundamentally different, and you can't just adapt something from a different market. So I think the right approach is a learning-based approach, where instead of trying to define patterns or rules or some simplification of the world, you train AI-based ADAS systems by presenting real-world examples of the composition of the environment and how drivers respond to those situations. And the AI model learns like how an Indian driver responds to crowded traffic conditions or how they navigate highway overtaking and so on. So that way it becomes a system that is more closely models the way actual people interact in the environment, and that's how we build trust in the ADAS solution. Fundamentally, people won't use it, they won't turn it on, they won't feel more relaxed driving until they can trust the solution. So they need the solution to somehow feel like something that they would do themselves. So that's why at Zendar we take the approach of building a complete learned implementation where no part of the system tries to make assumptions about how people would behave or assumptions about what you might encounter, but rather it really reflects what happens in the real world. And that means that you have to kind of from ground up do the development in India. You have to be collecting data in India, you have to be training your algorithms to work well, validating in India, and kind of making sure that the solution is tailored specifically for this market. I think this goes even more for the two-wheeler and three-wheeler applications. It makes no sense to take a sensor that was validated on a car and then expect that this will work well on a two-wheeler. So you need to do kind of the development from scratch, and you need a system architecture that is adaptable to learn, how that vehicle and that driver operates in the real world.
I mean, you make a very interesting point that Indian conditions are so dynamic that we will really have to rely on AI a lot than rule-based, right? But then the question is that, it will make it more expensive also, right? If we are leveraging more on AI than rule-based system. I mean, the fundamental thought is that, you have to process more data, more dynamic situations. Then how do we go about reducing the cost, right? Because if we are going to depend on AI, then expensive, then how do we counterbalance it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So kind of the second part of this is then, okay, how do you make it affordable? And what we've done at Zendar is kind of study, okay, which sensor is the best for different levels of functionality. I think in the past 10 years, a lot of ADAS development has been very camera focused and very LiDAR focused. And the reason for that is, those are sensor modalities that are easy to work with. It's easy to develop AI models for, but they take a lot of, especially camera processing, takes a lot of compute to process. And so the processor you need to put in the vehicle to run a camera-based ADAS, that's the bottleneck to how affordable the overall solution can be. Radar has been kind of an underappreciated sensor modality because compared to camera, it's more difficult to work with. The radar data is much less intuitive. There's really no other applications that use radar perception except for automotive. So it's kind of lagged behind. What we've done at Zendar is build a completely from the ground up 3D object perception with radar, all the way from raw radar data up to driving function. And what we learned from doing that is radar has many cost advantages compared to camera on the processing side of things. It boils down to camera is a 2D sensor of the world, and it has to then figure out all 3D information, how far is some object away, through a lot of computation. So there's a lot of flops that get spent in the processor, kind of going from this 2D view back to a 3D view. With radar, that's just in the physics of the radar, that the 3D nature of the world is represented. The other advantage is, camera has to deal with so many different lighting conditions, so many different colors, so many different types of clothes that people wear, level of contrast, where is the shadow. So it can do all those things, but that costs a lot of compute. So when you build a camera-based ADAS, then that is that's where a lot of the perception of needing a lot of compute comes from. With radar, you don't have to worry about any of those things. The system doesn't have to worry about any of those things. And so that actually fundamentally from the physics saves you a lot of compute. It brings a full ADAS implementation based on radar into the realm of what's practical on a low-cost MCU with a pretty modest AI accelerator that's very feasible for kind of automotive ECUs. So it takes something that is really only a very high-end product, and if you shift the functionality from being camera-based to being radar-based, it brings it into the realm of something that's really affordable for all kinds of vehicle segments.
Great. And Tejas, would like to hear your thoughts also, and specifically because, like we discussed, India's situation, right? It's very dynamic on the road. So how do you foresee, or the testing and validation also, plays a crucial part? Then, and that is also a cost, right? Yeah. When we are delivering the solution. So when AI comes into picture, does it have a negative impact on negative impact on the cost, on the testing? I mean, does it really increase the testing and validation cost, and how do you kind of counterbalance at that stage?
First of all, it was really interesting question as well. Like in the market, maybe like hearing about Giri's and Vijay's and all, a few other colleagues as well, like in the dais. I could also like recollect there was like a statement like we also need to have ADAS in two-wheelers, three-wheelers. How do I address like, for example, like we have most of that like adapted in a four-wheeler segment at the moment. How do I bring in ADAS in different verticals? Like how do I address that? That too for Indian market scenarios. Wherein like I would also take one example, like a real-time example, what our partners like RI is doing. That is a really fantabulous job like they are doing, and they are actually collecting real-world data, Indian road scenarios at the moment. There were like multiple software hardware they are been using. One such will be with dSPACE as well, wherein like they are at the moment a lot of kilometers of data they have at the moment. They have captured enough now. Like they are, we have like they are also trying to complete like across India, so that like that data will be really valid one like for to test Indian road scenarios. For to validate that, like we do have solution for different segments. It could be testing in the early phase, and all like also like when you have the real world, real vehicle with the different scenarios. That also like we have the different solutions as well. In such cases, like we want to really see what is that like a user wants to test, either OEM or Taiwan wants to test that. Accordingly, we are trying as a dSPACE, like we are providing kind of solutions like to tackle this. Budget is one of this problem Indian market scenario. So we are also like trying addressing like with the different test solutions, wherein we can bring in like some sort of software in loop validations, hardware in loop validations, vehicle loop validations for end-to-end, end-of-line validations as well. And in addressing like a different sensor data as well, it could be camera, lidar, or radar, or even the parking assistance with the different scenarios. That is where like I could see RI will have like a lot of huge amount of data now. Like after that, like once this data has been published to entire OEM or Tier 1, like we can also like there was a topic on RI providing kits to the OEM. That would also really helps a lot for the OEM or Tier 1s. Especially the Indian OEMs, they can focus on to address Indian market scenarios. Yeah, we are also trying to give a bus solution. In fact, like dSPACE also brought up like a lot of topics in India as well to address cost is the matter a lot. We are also started doing like a lot of in-house engineering as well to address Indian market needs. Yeah.
Got it. And I mean, one way to look at cost, like you mentioned, is the choice of the sensors itself, right? So rather than purely dependent on camera, you move some of the functionalities to radar, right? That is one lever. And the other lever generally is, you know, also to reduce the hardware cost itself, right? And one is the organic reduction over the years as the technology matures. The other lever is also sometimes localization helps. Do you see that those levers still open for India market to reduce cost, the hardware cost by better engineering or scale or by localization?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that radar hardware implementation has become more accessible. I think knowledge has spread out more. It used to be very specialized. And I think also the modern radar chipsets are a lot easier to work with. It used to be to build a radar, you needed a huge amount of RF expertise, and you were integrating like 5 or 10 different chips, PAs and LNAs, and it required a huge amount of RF expertise. These new RF SoCs are much more highly integrated. They're more software defined. Some RF expertise is needed for antenna design and the antenna interface, but it has a lot of commonality in terms of I/O and power design and so on with many other electronic systems. So I think it's become more accessible, and that opens out opportunities for like more players to come in and build radar solutions. So I definitely see opportunity for localization of radar sensor hardware production in India. I've seen the same trend happen in other countries. It used to be radars were primarily from Germany and a few other countries. We see now a lot of Chinese companies developing homegrown radars, same in Korea. I don't see why that couldn't happen in India as well. And in fact, just to kind of plug Zendar a little bit, that is something that we offer as a partnership. Is we have a reference design that we've developed, and we are actually looking for partners to take that on, make it their own, and we can provide help in terms of setting up supply chains of how to source the antennas and how to do the testing and calibration during manufacturing, so that we can bring up more partners worldwide who are able to have this knowledge and this know-how.
Nitin, you would like to add anything on the cost side, localization potential for India?
So localization definitely is important. I've seen over the years that CBUs and CKDs are now becoming completely localized for the entire vehicle, right? And one of the key features is the push that we have to make in India, right? And again, I go back to the point that I made earlier, that if an organization like ARAI takes it on themselves with the help of corporate partners to actually say that here is a kit, right, which we say is provided by us, which is given a stamp of authority by us, and we authorize A, B, C, D, E, F, whoever, as people who can actually manufacture these kits and then proliferate it across and also do the fitment. That's going to have a big impact on the adoption of ADAS as technology. Of course, it all goes with the fact that the feature itself has to be tuned to India, right? So it's not enough if just the sensor gets mounted or the ECU gets mounted. The feature also needs to get tweaked, where what companies like Vayavya, where we actually focus a lot on simulation-based testing, and we try to figure out, if there is a radar that Zendar is manufacturing, is there a possibility for us to create a digital twin of that radar so that we put it into the simulation environment, run tests, and see whether we can gather the data. And then that data actually can get tested either on the field or via resimulation, right, which is what the dSPACE as a company provides as a tool, right? So I think what is required is an ecosystem here, right? Every one of us here on stage here needs to actually, put their best foot forward, work towards getting something together, and then we of course need the blessings of somebody like ARAI, right, to give us that kit, the starter kit, right, with which we can actually, start doing something on a real vehicle.
Great. Sure. I was coming to you only.
So when we talk about the cost of ADAS systems, something which I would like to add, and this is especially when we are talking about a perception-based, AI-based ADAS system. Here, definitely indigenizing, having a local manufacturing of component do help, but there are 4 major components of costs which come to when we talk about an AI-based ADAS system. The whole story starts in an OEMs like us with what is the feature we are talking about and what is the customer willing to pay for it. Based on this one, the calculation starts saying how many cars will I sell with this feature and how much revenue can I generate. Based on that, we start doing the business case calculation. Now, there are 4 major blocks in AI-based ADAS system. One is the sensing system. That's when we just talked about it. We have the cameras, radars, LiDARs. But the second system which comes, especially when we go into AI-based, is the chip, the compute system. Right? There is a huge transformation right now going in the chip industry to cater to the low-cost needs and high compute power needs of ADAS systems right now. So you will hear all the big names like NVIDIA's, Qualcomm's, Intel's running behind the auto industry to develop those chips. But you also have a lot of new startups, new ideas coming in the SoC world with the chiplet technology or a monolithic chip which are made for the end-to-end models for the AI systems. The third thing what we then talk about is the AI software itself and the entire, I would say, the AI learning system we have to set from the data collection, data labeling, to the V&V system which we will have to set up, and this is a humongous cost. This most of the time disrupts any business case when we are trying to look at AI-based ADAS system. And if we have to address the affordable systems here, we have to address all the aspects of this AI system together.
No, a great point. We have to look at the entire value chain, right? And right from the hardware to even the computing power, right? And also the first step which you mentioned, which is very important, identifying the right feature set, right? Because that's also critical, because if you give customers something which is costly anyways, but also not usable, right? It's only going to increase the cost for the OEs and the entire ecosystem going forward, right? So great point. And Giri, you wanted to add something?
Just
please.
to add, identifying right feature is the right point, and I'll pick up from that thread. Is India ready and identify what are the right features that we require for our country? My answer is still no, because we are still working on what is European system based and what we filter in. Because the study which I left in the introduction, that what we did is like, I took all the 200 features across the globe, be it A, B, LDW, LKW, cross alert, traffic function, etc., 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 up to L2, L3 system, and put it in one bucket, and take all the accidents which is happening with deeper data, not directly taking it, and identify what fits in and what kind of accidents will avoid what kind of features. Okay, I'm talking about safety features. I'm not getting into the space of comfort yet. Okay, so in that condition, I see if you put all the ADAS features which is available with me right now, a mature technology, and an Indian accident data, we only see not more than 45-50% of accidents is avoidable. Nearly 50% of accidents is not avoidable, and we do not have any product in the world which can address this space. That's our data. And we're going to publish a data on this, then you can refer it in SAE as well. And I've been talking on this. Say, for example, there are different systems. For example, we talk about AEB, vulnerable road users. A pedestrian is a common example. So what happens in pedestrian detection system is the European system, it detects the motion of the head and motion of the leg. Okay. Then Indians wear different attires, saris, dhotis. Most of the time it is not detected. Auto rickshaw, detected as a car from the back. When it is tilted, the radar just passes through. I do not have auto rickshaw detection system. Unconditional vehicles. You have a tractor with a concrete mixer road roller which is just dragging in the middle of a national highway or an MG road. That's not detected at all. And bullock carts and buffaloes are not classified in the UN regulations. That means the big buffaloes and cows standing in the middle of a road is detected as two human beings. Yeah. So these are complexities. We have to get into the depth. I think before getting into an affordable solution, before getting or making a standardization, we have to first identify what is needed for our country. That's the first and primary aspect, because there is so much race that everyone wants to run on this race and put all that ADAS system into the ecosystem and put also force-fit AI system also into it and make the whole car cost very high. I feel, as personally as a researcher, I feel it's too complicated at this situation. Pick up 1, 2, 3 products which can fit. For example, detection, say for example, we have close to 25-30% of accidents on Indian roads are happening because of an improper overtaking. This particular situation is so important in India. It is not seen in any of the globe, because we have 85% of the roads in India is undivided highway. Okay, undivided. Only 4% of Indian roads are national highways, which is divided. Okay, and rest of the accidents are happening on an undivided highway where you have a truck going on one side, you have a car which is going on behind the truck and wants to overtake. And when a fully loaded truck starts to get onto a ramp on a slope, he reduces the speed from 60 kph to 20, 30 kph because it's fully loaded, he cannot ramp up. The Chota car which is behind this truck is really not patient enough to go at that speed. He tried to peep in, peep out, and then suddenly takes a turn and you see an oncoming vehicle, and then the whole scene is a chaos. You don't know where to go, right, left, or under the truck, don't know. So this is the highest category of situation. This requires a new product called overtake assist function. This is a new ADAS feature which we can bring in, which none of the global country has this product. So this is the direction with which the fundamental research of accident data have to plug in, identify, first list 10 features what is required and how much percentage of accidents can be saved. Make an estimate. Then get into identification and understanding of what radar system, what video systems. And we were talking about scalable, affordable and all those things. That comes the second thing. If it is not, as Vijay sir said, you're going to switch off, say for example, some AEBs is been implemented in some of the cars. And we switch off, when you go buy a car, the dealer himself says, switch off Modbidi because it's going to give you a lot of false alarms. Because when motorcycle keeps cutting and you have a corner radars, you get beep, 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 beep always. So that's irritating for you. So for us, we have to identify what is really needed for our country. There are a lot of features from research proven that we have to develop such system and then bring into the ecosystem. And then we have to formulate a regulation for it. So when we are talking about radar, whether lidar fits, radar fits, camera fits, these are all too fast we are jumping. Of course, we can take a giant leap, but a sequential step. For example, when you wanted to have a regulation of, say, AEB car to car, okay? That means there is only one test condition which is defined in UNR 95, 152 and also 185, which talks that when a car is moving in the front and the ego vehicle which is going from the front, in the back, suddenly that car brakes and your car has to brake at certain conditions, right? What happens when you have a sudden cutting of a motorcycle inside? This is not defined in the regulation. Now, when we put this into the regulation, this becomes complex. Now, the one-way system which can solve this problem requires 2 corner radars as well. Right? Now the intensity of the problem increases. So there are a lot of complexities which comes into this place. So systematically analyzing step by step, putting A, B, C or rating 1 to 10 and then going step by step and solving each problem and then bringing in regulation and then making it affordable would be the right step according to a research thought process.
No, absolutely. And I remember, so in one of the, I think in Bharat Mobility, somebody asked me, I mean, because we are consultants, somebody asked me, what's your prediction on L3 penetration? So I told that, first of all, we should not even think of L1, L2, L3 as is for India, right? Because that's not the right definition for us, right? Probably the features defined in the current L1, L2, L3 system might not be L1 for us, right? So we have to think more from India perspective, create maybe our own L1, L2, L3, and then not look at whether we are L1, L2 or L3, but have some different metrics where the impact is probably safety, right? Bit higher index or a measure which is really impactful, right? Not just L1, L2, L3. So I think great thought, and probably we can move towards that direction. You can, take lead on that, and will be great to have. Are we running out of time? So yeah. So I think we are almost done with questions. Probably one last question for Vijay and probably Parthiv. So yes, the consumers are buying cars, right? And there is a bit of awareness. Do you see an opportunity to create more awareness in consumers on the value proposition, what it brings on table, right? Do you see a gap? And if yes, then what can be done to improve that awareness and also make them understand more that ADAS is, really it improves your safety, the entire understanding of the ADAS features?
Yeah. So Kamal, from an automotive OEM perspective, and not only Tata Motors, but definitely most of the players are putting in a lot of money in order to ensure safety is inbuilt into the vehicles. In India specifically, you are seeing a lot of vehicles which are NCAP rated now. The feature content is there. A big point in the case of ensuring that it realizes in the hands of the customer is the communication to the customer. And a lot of efforts are being put by the industry in order to communicate through the sales point, through the various videos that are put up on the social medias also in terms of how it is to be used. There are dealership touch points, which again reaffirms the need for usage of these features. The forums like what we are here today, the ADAS show, these are also the enablers in order to, let's say, communicate and reinforce the need for adopting and using or practicing safe driving in the real world situations. The regulations, which Nitin also touched upon, drives home the same point, but in a more enforced manner, I would say. The certifications that are done also, if they are linked to the insurance premiums, they also drive in a similar message. I think we are climbing those steps, definitely. Like Giri said, probably rushing may not be the right way, but probably maturing things as we move ahead is more critical. And very rightly picked up, communication or awareness plays a very, very important role in this. And I believe there are enough and more efforts being put in place because there is money being put in place, and if you need the consumer to pay for it, the communication is the prime medium. And yeah, I think that's currently being reinforced from a OEM perspective.
Yeah, absolutely, Vijay. For ADAS system, the awareness is very important. And if I even look at the developed markets, and if I give an example, even in US, you have seen a lot of videos of FSDs being misused, and at times, even Tesla disables your FSD because you misused it, right? Even in China, when we had launched our level 2++ system, we had to do a training to the customer saying, you are still liable, you cannot sleep, you cannot watch your phones. So if I look at the developed countries like US, Europe and China, where we have to do so much awareness sessions, I believe in India, where even today people are talking, oh, I have an airbag, I don't need a seat belt. Absolutely a lot of awareness is needed.
Great. I think with that, we can wrap up the conversation. Really interesting to hear all of you. Some great thoughts. Do we have time for any questions? No?
Still we have...
One question? Or?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, please. Yeah. So we have 2 hands raised. We can have 2 questions. So, yeah.
Thank you for the great panel discussion. My question is, on one hand, we are seeing automakers incorporating a lot of ADAS features, and people are also opting for higher trims. And on the other hand, as Mr. Girikumar pointed out, that many of the ADAS features are not useful in India, and people are putting those off. So I want to understand where the market, is this market not growing organically the way it should grow? And what is the future of this market if we, if automakers just put on ADAS features and, in just features which are maybe not usable for Indian conditions. So in long term, where the market is growing if it goes like that? That is my question. Sorry? Yeah, my name is Aman Madhok. I am from S&P Global. I am an analyst and I am studying this ADAS market. So I wanted to understand these two, these 2 points of thought. These are contradicting.
I'll give you a simple analogy. What happened? How did the car how did the car develop? In 1980s, you just had 1 steering wheel and a brake and 4 seats. That's it, right? And then slowly we started incorporating all the things what is there in the Western world. We did not innovate anything really new in India. So the car which is more luxury in 1990s is more luxurious in 2010 here. So that's how we had the time shift, right? So when you look at, let's take airbag as an history. 10 years back, I was also part of many of the conference panels, and there was a big debate whether we need airbags or not. Today, we are not debating on it. It's automatically there because that's a need. Okay. And then we came to ABS, anti-lock braking systems, which is again, it's a need. That means you need to have an efficient braking system to stop a vehicle. Then we started talking about electronic stability control. Okay. That's again a need where you are going to avoid the skidding accidents and things like that. Now, up to here, everything is fine because we are not taking any inputs from the external world. Technology per se, it's working, whether it is Germany, whether it is India, whether it is Europe, it still works. But when it comes to ADAS, you are taking an input from the external world, right? The user, the consumers, the road behavior, the road infrastructure, weather condition, the local condition. Then everything changes. The whole game changes. So there should be a paradigm shift for the auto manufacturers and the tier 1 suppliers. It's their responsibility to bring in the right product at the right point in time, so that we mature together the technology and the overall ecosystem together. Okay. One small instance in previously Bharat NCAP 1.0, you know that crash test program for India is already there. And we had a big debate for 10 years, what should we bring in for crash test program? And we brought in so much of Indianized things, and finally ministry scrapped it. Let's take global NCAP and copy paste it. Because we don't want some car to be tested in India, which is like 5-star here, and it goes to a Latin NCAP crash test and it goes for a 3-star rating. So now BNCAP 2.0 is a new committee which is formed in October 27 onwards. The NCAP 2.0 might come up. The government and the Ministry of Road Transport has given us a very clear mandate that we have to prove that the test conditions, whatever has been designed, has to be India specific. So now you see the maturity, how it is coming from copy pasting technologies to designing what is the requirement, and then we are adapting that to auto suppliers and also to OEMs to bring in the right technology. It will take some time. It's a long journey. So if you see the future, we cannot simply fit some product A, B, C, D, and then you make money out of it. And of course, you can make money whatever product you fit into the car. But is it the right product? And this is the crucial moment where we have to do a paradigm shift from copy pasting to really realizing what is the need of an hour and bringing up the right technology to mature the whole market of, say, the road mobility or the mobility together for Indian context. So that's just my thought.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I just want to add one point, and that's a very valid question that you put. Like every system, for ADAS also, there is a PDCA, right? When we plan for things for a specific market, we plan for all the conditions that we understand, and India is a varied market. And the variability in traffic is significantly high. All of those conditions are definitely being put in place by the Indian manufacturers when the ADAS system is developed. But there are always new learnings that keep on coming. And those are the things that you need to keep on updating in your system. And this is not true for Indian manufacturers. A lot of global manufacturers have a continuous learning of the algorithms for those specific use conditions that you will find in the global arena. So this is not very, in a sense, peculiar to India, that we have to go through a learning loop. But it is important because we are trying to catch a fast running train, we do it faster. I think that's the point probably we need to have a perspective about, rather than say that we are just trying to bring in and force fitting something into the Indian industry. It doesn't work. And India has always shown that it doesn't work.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.